Welcome back to the SDLA. We are back in battles once again. I am your host, Taylor Wheeler. With me we have James Whitney and also Cody Whitney. We are going to be doing battles, like I said, once again, but it's going to be a little bit different based. We're going with a more open discussion on this one. I will actually be arguing for Deadshot, and then James will be arguing for Spider-Man. And Cody is here to be our devil's advocate. Small basic setup before Cody does his whole thing here with kind of what's going on with the situation. It's more or less it's Deadshot coming to New York, so the fight will take place in New York. And with that matter too, because Deadshot would have had the contract out, he would have known in time to prepare for somebody like Spider-Man. So he would technically have prep time. So Cody, take us away.
Alright, so Spider-Man downtown New York, swinging through the city. He's headed towards a robbery that was just placed over the police comms and whatnot, so he heard it through his device in his headpiece. And he's swinging there. Spider-Sense goes off. He dodges his head a little bit, but guess what? His webbing is cut in half by a stray bullet. Quickly, he regains his balance and starts to look for where the shot's from. Deadshot has taken the shot. He's about, I'm going to say 1,000 yards out. I believe his maximum range is 2,000. So we'll say 1,000 yards out, taking the shot. James, your guy, can tell essentially the angle. It is Peter Parker, I assume we're using.
Yep.
So as Peter Parker, he would have been able to deduce the angle. So you know his general direction.
Well, I shot your direction, so you would more than likely be
starting off.
Yeah.
Looking for you. Well, Spider-Man has genius IQ. He stands up there with Tony and Reed Richards. Not nearly up to the pedestal they are on, but enough where basic trajectories and stuff like that. He'd be able to at least know the building you're in, and from there, he'd be able to close in on you. I'll put it this way: somebody like Superman is able to get up on you and just take you out quickly. So you have trouble dealing with these enhanced people. Yeah, with the right prep, you might be able to kind of handle it, but Spider-Man, with his ability to react, which you're not really going to be prepared for because nowhere in any of the files does it ever really say he has Spider-Sense. People just know he's got good reflexes. So you're not really going to be aware of his danger sense ability, which is going to put you at a big disadvantage because you're going to think you're going to have the drop on him a lot. This is kind of why people like Craven and Punisher have lost to him before. You also have to deal with his webbing, which has been able to restrain the Hulk, so if he gets in line of sight, you're going to have to dodge that. Hand-to-hand combat, you're pretty good. You go toe-to-toe with Batman, so you might be able to hold your own once it does get in close. But I think Spider-Man would be able to wrap you up pretty quickly.
Deadshot, he's going to be prepared for you. He knows what he's coming in for. And yes, there might not be files on the actual Spider-Sense, and that's completely understandable. There are powers and stuff that people don't know about ever. But it doesn't mean that Floyd hasn't dealt with things of a similar sort before. He's seen crazy good reflexes. He's seen, he fights Batman on a constant basis, if people want to argue it, it's always the I'm Batman argument is why he wins. But his reflexes are beyond natural for what Batman is. So it's stuff that he doesn't fully know that because it's classified because it's just Peter Parker knows it. It's stuff that he can still deal with. So even if you can dodge some of the stuff, like, people have landed shots on Spider-Man before. The spider sense is not always perfect in that matter. Like, yes, it's very good at doing the job, but, like, the way Floyd shoots, his wrist gauntlets, everything that he has, he's extremely, extremely accurate. Like, no matter the situation, no matter the pressure he's under, anything along those lines, he's always as accurate as all hell with that. So he'll be able to take any amount of shots at you, to even wound you, to slow you down, because what he's going to see is, like, you can be wounded. Like, it's happened to Spider-Man how many times? Like, Kraven's wounded him before. Punisher's done it, like, a few times before he loses. But that's not the point of that. So it's just how smart Deadshot is, because people don't give him credit for that. He's an extremely smart strategist, and Parker's very good, but he's more on the fly stuff. It's more gonna be kind of like, oh, what can I do now? Instead of, like, already having a plan for that, he's trying to think about it as it's happening, where Floyd has already thought about, like, the situation before it happened. So he's going to be prepared in that matter, and if it does come close, I can tell you for sure he would definitely be able to handle you one-on-one in that matter. The one thing he would have is he would know about your webs, so he would have his own ways to counter that, because he's countered other people's abilities and stuff like that before when necessary. So coming into the situation, knowing he was hired to specifically take out Spider-Man, he's going to have a way to get rid of your webs, whether it's some coating to make sure that they don't stick to him or something along those lines. And it's not like he's poor. He's a very rich man for how many people he's killed over the years. So he has the money to go out and get what he needs for that matter. So basically, at the end of the day, it's going to be, he's going to have a plan for you, and it's going to be him, like, future thinking, almost to the point of somebody like Midnighter, but not to that extreme where it's like millions of battles in his head all at once. But, like, he's just saying that he's that good of a strategist, that he's going to know what he's stepping into, know how to take you down, because he's not a dumb assassin. He's very good at what he does, and he will be able to either shoot you, wound you, take you out in those aspects of it, to get you to the point where he can easily kind of take his final steps and, like, take you down.
Okay, something to think about. For James, start off, is or actually this one's actually, I suppose it's for you. It's the spider sense. Peter has stated before that the problem with it is it doesn't tell him what's happening, right? It just tells you kind of like...
It doesn't tell you where. It
doesn't tell you where. It just tells
danger.
you something's going to happen.
Right here. Right
so,
here.
like, one of the biggest things was Mysterio noticed that if he set up 2 traps at once, his sense would only go off once. So he would dodge the one and fall into the other. So that's something to think about for you. And for you, something to think about is how Deadshot is effectively, he's falling into the same category that all of your previous villains have, which is that, like, he's prepared, you're not. Something to think about is how he's using common tactics that both Kraven and Punisher like to use. So, just to give you guys an idea of the arguments.
Yeah, you will probably have well prepared for certain things. I don't think you'll have been prepared as well as you should be for the spider sense. But even with not being able to, like, even if you did know about it, a lot of people plan ahead for Spider-Man, and when they do that, guys like Doc Ock, Dr. Doom planned a trap for Spider-Man. It didn't work. Because when he does something unpredictable, every plan they've thought of, every Midnighter plan they could think of, just went out the window. Because that's how his character is. Not to mention, you deal with Batman and like characters like that. They're just kind of dark, gritty. This is Spider-Man. He's going to be talking your ear off. You're going to literally probably come out there and try and put a bullet in his head right up close, just for the sheer fact you want it over with. That's one of his greatest powers. Right next to Deadpool, he is literally one of the people with the biggest mouth in Marvel.
I have a question. Was Spider-Man the one that talked so much that Galactus hated him? Or was that Deadpool?
That was Deadpool.
Okay. Because I remembered one of them did it, and I was like, I couldn't remember which.
Not to mention, your guy has some great fights. Don't get me wrong. He's done some fantastic things. But Spider-Man has beaten Herald of Galactus. Your guy had a rough time against Black Adam. And that was with a team behind him. So, not to mention, depending on what the situation is, you might have even brought some mercenaries. You might even have Taskmaster and Black Ant here helping you, depending on how you figured to deal with this properly. And those always add to my odds, because I always win against multiple enemies. Talk to the Sinister Six anytime. But the point is, any traps, any things you throw at my character, Spider-Man is able to dodge them. He's been able to deal with them. You say you're going to shoot my character, unless it's a lethal shot, which it'd have to be to really take me down. I've beaten Morlun while having a broken arm before, and that's the guy who breaks spider people across a multiverse. That's a guy that you cannot fight against, and I've won against them. Infringing on my, trying to make me weak, all that's going to do is harm your chances, because you're going to get overconfident. You're going to think you have me, and you're going to drop the ball, just like every other 2-bit villain. On a side note, this would probably be our first time fighting. At the bar with no name, there's no one that votes against Spider-Man. His first time fighting a villain. So
he's like, he shows up at the bar and he's like, I need all the information about Spider-Man. I need to fight him. And everyone's like, what's your name? And they're like, all right, everybody. Okay, yeah, sure. And then there's one guy who's like, I'll put money on Deadshot. And they're like, yeah, okay. Is that what you're saying? That's your argument?
No, I just figured I'd throw it out there as a funny thing. This would probably be our first time, and that's a little bit to my advantage, because a lot of people have thought they could take him the first outing, and they couldn't.
First of all, one quick note saying that Deadshot and his team couldn't take down Black Adam. The universe couldn't take down Black Adam for a while. It's just... all I'm saying is World War III was a thing. So...
Yeah, that was before that point.
Not a different power level of him, though. Just a little bit angrier.
Anger's not a power level?
What?
Anger's not a power level? Dragon Ball Z lied to me.
No, so the Black Adam thing, knowing Black Adam, not many people take him down aside from himself a lot of the time, and Shazam.
Okay.
So, for me, the Black Adam thing, it's a fun thing to poke fun at, but Deadshot not being taken down, to me, is similar to anyone else in the DC universe, for that matter. But with it goes, Deadshot's not going to bring extra people along because he has the chance to study you. He knows what he's stepping into with the contract, and he knows how badly the Sinister Six have lost at multiple points in time, and other various super villain team ups that happen. So he knows how badly they lose when they're like, oh, we can all work together and do this, and then we'll just get in each other's way because Spider-Man can use us against each other. So he knows that because he's a very good person to study information and just be able to know how to take somebody down in that matter. So the extra people won't be a thing because he's not going to add to your odds. Because he knows the win-loss record that Spider-Man has. So he will set up multiple trap things because it's just like knowing his strategies and everything like that. He's done it before when he's terribly annoyed with Deathstroke and wants to try and take him out. He will set up multiple traps to try and take him out. When he was working with the Secret Six, with Catman and them, he was a master planner in there, and was one of the people that held off the whole Villains United thing with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke and just a dozen of other people that were all just terrible villains looking to take out the Secret Six for just what they wanted to do in that moment. And I will say with quips and stuff like that, it's typically not a thing that is going to really affect Deadshot. Like, he's a guy who's dealt with so many different situations. Like, he's even dealt with the Joker at various points in times. Like, and that's just pure insanity, versus, like, just some kid's quips and, like, just talking to him is not going to be anything that's going to throw him off of his game. He's very focused in his matter, similar to a Punisher to an extent, like to a later version of Punisher is what I would say, to where you don't knock him off of his game by just talking to him and talking a lot. Like, he'll just shoot you more in that matter, or like plan harder to take you down in that matter, because it doesn't affect him in that way. So you can do your quips and stuff like that, but he's not Vulture. He's not going to get pissy when he's like, oh, stop making fun of me. He's just gonna like start like trying to work that against you. He's gonna watch your patterns that he's already watched. He's gonna watch your new patterns, and you can try to do stuff that's unpredictable, but Floyd always has backups in his own mind, so he can always retreat slightly to a different area to force you to come into like his area. And he's not afraid to use various like meat shields is what I would say, but people that you care about and care about saving, that you're not going to just let die for any reason. So there's different ways he can work that against you and set traps with actual people where he can be like, hey, well, what are you gonna do? Like, you have to save them, don't you? Because you're not gonna stop. Like, you're not going to stop to like, be like, oh, I'll let these people die, that's fine.
That's a good plan. That's a very... Continue. I want to hear more.
So, it's just a matter of him setting up and getting everything in right, and he's going to put everything he can into the position where he has every advantage possible. Whether that's kidnapping people beforehand and making them like possible victims that you have to save in the situation, setting up multiple traps. If he has to set up bombs, like, he will do it, because in a time period that he has, like, even in a short time period, he's like, when the Secret Six was dealing with the Villains United stuff, it was very short time from when Villains United was about to like come and be like, hey, you guys are done and we're going to kill all of you, to when they had everything set up to make their stand. So he'll be ready, he'll be able to take you out with shots, and if he gets in close, he will shoot you in the head with one of his wrist gauntlets, and then he'll go and cash his check.
Alright, one thing to note. So you obviously don't have access to the knowledge of Spider-Man's Spider-Sense per se.
Yes.
However, something to think about is you do have access to all the police reports, right? And on several accounts, you know, when Spider-Man has been bested or whatnot, has been due to somebody overcoming that. One of which comes to mind is the Venom, Carnage, and then finally Kraven has had his moment where he found a drug that can nullify. That's something to think about. You'd have access to the police reports, especially being, a former or even current, depending on which one you're using, Suicide Squad member. And then in your case, something to think about is how to overcome those.
Well, I do want to point out some things on that. Specifically for the Kraven one, Spider-Man didn't lose that fight. So I don't know if that would be in there. But
And it would still be in there. It's a police report. If there's an unknown substance that virtually is harmless to anyone that touches it, he would have to figure out why it was used. Maybe even contact somebody. Like I said, it's just something to think about. There are items that have been used in the past.
Okay. Well, to start off with, I kind of hit on the other two. I don't see Deadshot using a symbiote at all. I think that
wasn't talking about the symbiote for. I'm talking about the why he's not able to feel them, the DNA knowledge. Because the whole thing is that he can't connect with them, or he can't sense them because they have his DNA. Yeah, they're technically a part of him. So like having that knowledge. I'm just saying that there's stuff that you can deduce from that for his character.
Anyways, starting off, you wanted to kidnap people. Talking about World War Atom. You really want to do that against Spider-Man? All you're going to do is make him save all those people, and now you've got a really raging, angry Spider-Man who has done crazy things like take on the Hulk and out martial arted against like Wolverine and stuff like that.
Lift a 100-story building.
You don't want an angry Spider-Man. If you did your research, you wouldn't do that. You want the fun and joking one because you have a chance against that one. But if you did that, I would save all of them. Because that's where I push myself. And after that, I would come at you with full force. I would literally destroy you. Any traps you throw at me, I'd probably take most of them and then just beat you up. It would not be difficult for him at that point. When Spider-Man gets angry, it's a lot like Black Adam. There's a lot of people that kind of get hurt. Now, without that being said, I did the multiple trap thing. I'll probably get hit by a few of those. Luckily, that's what makes Spider-Man such a good character to read, is no matter how many times he gets hit, he kind of gets back up. I don't see you maybe killing my character. Best chance for Deadshot, where he leaves without a black mark on it, or a red mark on his page, would be Spider-Man learns who hired you, goes there, confronts them, and makes them call it off. That's the best way this ends for your character. Otherwise, you're being webbed, and probably webbed to the bar with no name. Let's be honest. I'll leave a little note. But you said you're not gonna get help from other people. That's fine. I do agree you're one of the best assassins in DC. No questions asked. But that's DC. You have Marvel, which is more prevalent in assassins. Spider-Man's dealt with 1,000 more assassins than you. And every one of them is going to be better in combat because that's where they gotta excel, because they don't have Superman characters. That kind of stuff doesn't happen in Marvel. So their characters excel at the low tier end of the spectrum. So Punisher, I've beaten you multiple times. So, and your guy is a great shot and everything, but he is not Punisher, who's a great shot and a great combatant and a great character. I don't know what else to say. He's good in hand-to-hand combat. He's good in far range. Spider-Man's managed to beat him. You yourself like to use the Sentry feat, where he was able to dodge and shoot Sentry, I think it was.
He didn't shoot Sentry, he escaped Sentry. That was his whole thing.
And Spider-Man's been able to deal with him. Not to mention the Vulture joke. I get it, Vulture seems like a wimpy character, but Spider-Man's dealt with them, and it's not just because he jokes. He just keeps talking and talking and talking. You've dealt with the Joker, and his menacing laughter and all that stuff, it was creepy and stuff, but it wasn't grating. It wasn't nails on a chalkboard. every 5 seconds going off. This is a character who basically messes with everyone on his team when he's talking. There's other spider people. Miles, the Spider-Woman, they can't even stand to be around Spider-Man because of his
constant jabbering.
Yeah. So I will be able to kind of do a mental warfare on your part because that's what I do.
I will say, even Deadpool has stated the only reason he's able to withstand Spider-Man is he's already crazy.
Yeah. Like, just look at the number one villain that he usually monologues with, that they go back and forth, Green Goblin. And Green Goblin's is as crazy as the Joker, and this is two characters that constantly are going back and forth with their jabbering on. So, I think I have very good shots of getting into your head. The multiple traps, while it can be effective, as Mysterio, Kraven, all of them have proven, it's not enough to take me out. Like, you need to find a way to really stop me and put me in my place. I've stopped the Juggernaut before because I was able to go, this is where he is, this is what's here, I'm going to use this to my advantage. The same goes for you. You've come into New York, and this is my place, my advantage. God knows if there's any people in that building you're using, and maybe you're using them as hostage, the moment I get there and you think you have victory, we've talked about this. New York is the worst place to fight a New York hero, because the moment it looks like you're going to win, that old lady with the bag is going to mace you. And then everyone's going to be on top of you, beating you up. Because that's kind of how New York is for Marvel. Like, that's their hero. You don't mess with Spidey in New York.
I'll kind of try to make this quick because we are running out of time here.
Damn, sorry.
No, it's not a problem. So, small notes for it. Number one, old lady macing him. He wears a mask. Not gonna do anything. So, like, New York people want to try and do it. He'll deal with them in his own way. Spider-Man getting angry typically takes a lot more than just putting people in danger. So if he's just putting them in danger and knowing that what you do is saving them, that's what he's going to expect you to do anyways. So you're not going to be getting like terribly angry unless you fail, and then you'll get angry when when Deadshot actually does kill people because you failed at your job. But as far as the talking goes and talking about grading people, this is a dude that was on Suicide Squad with Harley Quinn on a constant basis, and they slept together. So obviously, people talking constantly and being annoying doesn't bother him much, but that's a whole thing. But even if not, like I said before, he's dealt with annoying characters before, he's dealt with annoying people before in many different aspects of it. So to get into his head takes a lot, especially a guy who's trained like his whole life to deal with this stuff, to be focused.
Yeah.
So yes, Harley Quinn doesn't always talk. The stuff that I read, she was talking his ear off a lot. But when she's away from the Joker, yes, she cannot talk. But even still, this is a guy that's so focused. Like, I'd say he's similarly focused as Batman, and you're not going to get into Batman's head with quips unless you're going to like start making fun of his dead parents, and then he'll curl up and cry in a corner. But that's Batman. Deadshot doesn't care about
I was
parents.
saying, with Deadshot, this is the same guy who spent, it was like, was it 2 weeks or was it a full week? I don't remember which. But he sat in the same spot for a ridiculously long time waiting for the perfect shot.
Yeah.
And there was plane noises, there were trains, there was the person that he was with was talking about how he wants to leave the entire time. Like he does have a very focused mind.
Yeah, he does. Even taking out the Harley Quinn stuff, he's an extremely focused character no matter what. So I will argue that Spider-Man, yes, quippy, yes, gets into people's heads sometimes. It's not going to affect Deadshot because of the way he works. So he's going to be able to deal with all that, and all he needs is one trap to hit you and take you off of your game for a second for him to land a kill shot, because he's not going to be like, he's not like Craven, who's all about the hunt, because that's part of like Craven's thing is he's hunting Spider-Man, so it's all about, it's kind of a game for him more or less. And for Deadshot, it's not a game, it's a paycheck. So the quicker this is over, the quicker he gets that money and moves on to the next paycheck. So unlike Craven, he's not going to mess around. So if you get tripped up by one little thing, he's taking that kill shot immediately. So that's just where he's going to land on this whole thing, is it's just going to be as soon as you get tripped up, the moment you get tripped up, and you said yourself you would get at least hit by traps. So in that moment, he's taking that kill shot, he's going to take you out. So it's just what he's planning on doing to try and take that down.
Thanks for watching, and whichever one you think is going to be the winner, please let us know in the comments below.